Hi again, welcome to Tame's vlog. Thanks for tuning on. Today's video, it's about Stella Damasus and the whole saga, whole marital saga, and the dicey situation whereby people always call her out for being a husband snatcher. I think there's a misconception with regards to that, because there are some articles and interviews that the people involved have granted in the past that people do not know about and quite states otherwise. In fact, saying quite, it sounds like not sure. It actually states otherwise. There's this recent video that Stella Damasus did, and people really bashed her like she was deserving. She runs a show, Ask Stella, whereby people send in their relationship issues and she addresses them and gives advice. Then on this particular video, she read a story and she was saying giving the person an instance, her own personal instance. And that is how I see it. Even though I see that she has come out to debunk it, that she wasn't talking about herself. Yes, initially, she was reading out an email, but then she used her own life as an instance. And I'm going to play that video first, and I'm going to correct and state the true story behind Stella Damasus, Daniel Ademinokan, and Doris Simon. The truth about it, the whole snatching, not snatching story. And I'm quite shocked that Stella Damasus did not even address it in this new video she actually did. After people have called her out again on snatching, I expected her to talk about the snatching aspect, because there are interviews that have been granted in the past that actually states otherwise, and Doris Simon's interview as well actually says otherwise. I'm going to go into all that step by step, but first let's play this video, see the comments that that followed that video, then we would go into the real truth about the situation. Stay tuned.
Experiences with dreams and with visions that I choose how I want to interpret it to suit what I want, to give me the answers that I want. It's happened to me. I thought this person was my soulmate. I thought this person was the same. He does the same things that I do. We're both intelligent. We both love people's minds. We're both this. We're both that. Everything is falling into place. We're so similar. We have the same kind of visions. We talk the same. We do the same. We understand the same. Same. Last. It all costs. Everybody will still chop breakfast. So, my dear, let's be eating lunch and dinner. Let's not eat breakfast, okay? So when you see those red flags, don't ignore it.
I'm going to play this video again a second time so that we can hear it together again and be sure we know what we have heard. I'll play it again.
Darling, I've had experiences with dreams and with visions that I choose how I want to interpret it to suit what I want, to give me the answers that I want. It's happened to me. I thought this person was my soulmate. I thought this person was the same. He does the same things that I do. We're both intelligent. We both love people's minds. We're both this. We're both that. Everything is falling into place. We're so similar. We have the same kind of visions. We talk the same. We do the same. We understand the same. Same. Last. It all costs. Everybody will still chop breakfast.
From this video, we can see that, yes, she was giving a response to somebody, but she actually used her own personal experience. She has called out Vanguard for twisting the narrative, but based on this section of the video, she was responding to somebody and she used her own instance. That is how I understand it, and that is how most people understand it. That is not even the bone of contention in this video. But the fact that the comments that followed were all attacking her that yes, she deserved the heartbreak. Breakfast is now a slang that for heartbreak, like you were served breakfast, in case you didn't know. So a lot of people, based on this video of her using her own experience as an instance, that there were times that she also had dreams about somebody that she tried to understand the interpretation of that dream based on how she wanted it to play out. She was in this video, she was using her own personal instance, and people felt that yes, whatever heartbreak she must have experienced, she deserved it, because people were interpreting this situation to her just broken marital relationship. And the reason why people believed that she deserves it was because of the entanglement between another colleague of hers, Doris Simon, and Daniel Ademinokan. That's the name of the man in question. And people believe that she snatched Daniel Ademinokan from Doris Simon, who happens to be her colleague. They are both Nollywood actresses. Now let's go through the comments so that you can see that is how people really felt about her. This person said, let me go and watch Doris' new movie. That's like a rhetoric. Doris Simon is the woman that was initially married to David Ademinokan. See what somebody else said. You and who would chop breakfast? Everybody just wants to talk. Did you say how you met and married the person? A wrong foundation would always give wrong results. Another person said, I don't know how somebody who snatched someone's husband turns around to talk about breakfast. Nobody is holy, but auntie, it's your audacity for me. They believe that she has no moral standing to talk about this topic because they believe she snatched the man from her colleague, that she is the reason why that relationship broke. The relationship between Daniel Ademinokan and Doris Simon. We're talking about 1,000 comments, and about 950 called her out on snatching, that she was the one that caused Doris Simon and Daniel Ademinokan's marriage to break. Then another person said, young girls, before you believe people like this, try and do your research. Not everyone is a good motivational speaker. Be careful what you believe. Another one said, we need real relationship motivational expert. The fact that some people divorced or walked away from marriages doesn't mean they can cancel you. A good counselor is one who does what he or she says and lives by example. Even the whole of you is a red flag. That means Stella Damasus, is a red flag because they were based on, the information on ground. All these comments prompted me to go do my research before doing this video, because when I saw that video too, because of the information I initially had that she snatched her husband, I was like, even before going to the comment section, I was like, of course, you deserve it. That's good. That's how it's, that was how I also felt and everyone felt. Then I felt something. I said, you know what? Before I do this report, let me go do my findings and be sure that, because the story, nobody ever came out to disprove anything publicly. We never really heard anything. We just knew the story that Doris Simon was happily married to David Ademinokan. Daniel Ademinokan loved Doris Simon so much, and suddenly Stella came into the picture and the man totally changed, left his wife, went with Stella, took the only son that he and Doris had, and relocated to the United States with Stella. So it was, and Doris Simon is a very calm lady in the industry that is generally loved. Even Stella as well, she was generally loved. But when that situation happened, people just totally lost interest in Stella, and all favor and love just went to Doris. As in, everyone felt pity for her, like, women are always the one, and that was how I felt when I first saw that video. But I just felt, let me do some digging. Let me be sure that I'm not just going to report like everybody else and just say, yes, good for you, Stella, that marriage broke, you husband snatcher. And on doing that, my findings, I realized that it's actually not the way we thought it is. Because both Doris Simon, both Stella said in different interviews, number one, in fact, the story was that they were besties and Doris housed Stella. But when I did my findings, I saw that even Doris herself had said that she's not Stella's friend, and they have never even worked together on set despite being in the Nollywood industry as colleagues. Stella also said that the marriage was already broken off before she and Daniel met and fell in love and continued their lives, which I do not really see an issue with, because they were already broken. If that is what it truly is, they've already broken up, they've gone their separate ways, and you meet somebody that is not your friend. If they were even friends, we'll say, okay, that's not a very palatable relationship to go into. But they were not even friends. That aside, then another person granted an interview saying the real story, because the person lived in their home, that the real story that caused, like a family friend now said that this is the story that happened. That I'm going to read everything with us, but that they had Doris and Daniel had their own domestic issues, that the relationship was already gone, that nobody broke them, that they were no longer compatible, and Daniel moved on. I'm going to read all those articles all those articles, yes, and interviews with us now. We're going to go through it together, and later all these comments I'm going to put it as a slideshow, and you would actually read. The comments were not, as in, imagine, over 900 and on different blogs like that, insulting, and everybody was saying yes. Almost everybody said she deserved that outcome of a relationship being broken, because the impression they have is that she's a husband snatcher. She caused somebody's home to break, and she would definitely only enjoy it while it lasted. The same was going to happen to her, like a karma situation, a bad karma situation. Now let's go to those articles. Okay, if we can read this has been years ago when the situation happened, but these interviews were not publicized. So people still had that wrong impression about how the whole thing happened between Stella, Doris, and Daniel. Then at this interview with Nigerian Film said, because they are actresses in the same industry, how Doris Simon destroyed her marriage with, you can read that, an insider alleges. That means somebody who knows them. Now let's read it. The recent controversies trailing an alleged secret marriage between Stella Damasus and Daniel Ademinokan may not die down soon if the latest information made available to NigerianFilms.com is anything to go by. An insider sent a mail to us explaining some unknown details about the marriage crash of Doris Simon and Daniel Ademinokan. I just want to hope that it wasn't an anonymous email and it wasn't probably Stella disguising. I'm not accusing her, but when someone sends something anonymously, explaining something, sometimes when they are being bashed, it could, and there's a situation where they are calling out somebody, it could be that person. We never can say, but what really validates this is the interview that Doris, the person that everyone feels she had been cheated, the interview she gave, and we're going to go to that. But let's read this insider's one first. An insider sent a mail to us explaining some unknown details about the marriage crash of Doris Simon and Daniel Ademinokan. A copy of the email is presented below. Okay, and the email reads, "Hello, I have stood by in the last couple of days to see this drama about Stella Damasus and Daniel Ademinokan unfold. I have read countless blogs, reviews, and comments from all over the world, and I have come to the conclusion that people have no clue what they are talking about. That means the allegations that they are talking about, they are actually false." This person continued by saying, "I lived with Daniel and Doris for about 4 years, so I can tell you facts. This is not hearsay or assumptions. The person said, "I will even mention names that can be verified. Let us not be distracted by this stunt that Uncle Daniel just pulled with the party and the gift." I'm not sure what that means. Okay, maybe he gifted Stella, and people are outraged that the audacity of these wicked people. Like, you dumped your wife, treated your wife badly, and you can just flaunt somebody else in our faces with a party and a gift. Okay, now let's continue with the article. The person continues saying, "Let us focus on the root of this matter. When we know the foundation, we will know how to direct our anger and insults." The person said, "I lived with Daniel and Doris because my sister was close friends with Doris, and at that time, I needed accommodation in Lagos because my parents were based in the south part of Nigeria. I lived with them when they were still on Salami Street in Mende, Maryland, Lagos. And even when they moved to their Idowu Akindele Crescent residence in Magodo, GRA, Lagos." That means the person has lived with them for quite some time, 4 years, the person said, and they have moved apartments. They first lived in one house, the person was with them, moved to another house, the person was with them. Okay. The person continued by saying, "Daniel was a good man and the perfect husband to Doris." And everybody really did say that they were just this enviable couple anyway. And that's what made people really angry, that with the misconception that Stella just came and broke such a beautiful union. Okay, now let's continue. I'll start again. "Daniel was a good man and the perfect husband to Doris, and he made her feel special in every way. He always spoke to her nicely and was quick to defend her in many ways. He supported her career and was determined to make Doris rise to the top above her colleagues. He used to say that a lot and felt she deserved to be at the top. No, she was a very good, she's a very good actress. In fairness, Doris Simon. Then, the person narrating the story, we don't know if it's male or female, said that Daniel would always say to Doris, "Them Toyin Funke, Dayo and Co. no fine pass you. Them no act pass you. I have to position you at the top." He did everything in his power to put her there. Daniel cannot come and boast to people, especially me, that he single-handedly financed all of Doris' films. He can't. He was responsible for getting the finances, but it was not his money entirely that did films like Onitemi and Omoyakon. The marketer named Epsilon financed these films. I know that Daniel may have added about 10% to 20% of his cash at some point, but it was almost insignificant. The only film he did with his money for her 100% was the film Ashiri. So if he ever claims he did those films for her, quote me or ask Epsilon. Doris was a good wife in her own right. She supported her husband's passion to change the industry. She dragged him into making Yoruba films which he really didn't want to get into. She enjoyed the fact that out of most of her colleagues, she was the one that had a steady home with a young and successful guy. Ambitious man too. She was the minister of finance. I mean, in her home. That's what the person is trying to say. Then, the person continued by saying, that's what Daniel used to call her in the house. Okay, the husband used to call her the minister of finance because he always gave her all the money to handle. He would bring money home and hand it all over to her because she was efficient in money management. Unlike him, who was a free giver and really had no respect or regard for money. Whether he had enough or not, he did not care so much about cash. Never. For the 4 years that I lived with them, that person is saying that, not for one day did I ever hear them raise their voices at each other in arguments or quarrels. You would see them come out of their bedrooms sometimes with weird expressions, and we would all know they just fought. But you would never hear Daniel raise his voice. Never. One thing that the world never knew was how much both families never want them to get married. Both families of Doris and Daniel, okay? Doris' parents didn't like Daniel, and Daniel's mother in particular never liked Doris. She was against the relationship from the beginning. She is known to be a heavy prayer warrior, and she said God was against the marriage from scratch. But Daniel never listened to his mother. Now, the horrible thing about Daniel is his stubbornness and hard-headed nature. He never listens to people, and if he believes in something, it will take a manifestation of the 10 plagues in Egypt to change his mind. He is extremely stubborn and very determined person, which was one thing I hated about him. Yes, he is nice, loving to his family and friends, but do not think for a minute that you can convince him easily to change his mind when he has already formed an opinion or decision on what he wants to do. He went on with the marriage. His family believed that Doris trapped him with a baby, but that is a big lie. I have always disagreed with his mother on that note. I respect the woman, but Doris did not trap Daniel with a baby. They were already living together for 3 years before David, who is the child, was born. So the woman should get her facts straight, okay? Her son, I believe, Daniel wanted the child as much as Doris did. I think along the line, Daniel started to realize that in many ways, he and Doris were different. Now, the person just gave us a brief history of their marital home, that they were happily married, and, then at a point in time, when things started going sour, this person is saying, along the line, Daniel started to realize that in many ways, he and Doris were different. Much different than he had thought. I believe Doris started to relax on several things because she felt she had a husband and he was going nowhere. He was always very expressive about his love. She was the opposite. He would run around the house and want to play love games with her, but she thought that was a waste of time and energy. I personally experienced that with them on several occasions, says the narrator. I guess Doris was more concerned about how people perceived the relationship on the outside and not how sweet it really was on the inside. She always wanted pictures of them out there. Daniel was more concerned about making his marriage very Onyiboish, meaning very modern, very westernized, because that's who he has always been. At some point, the narrator said he or she started to feel that Daniel started getting tired of her excuses about being expressive with her feelings, even in the house. I think, says the narrator, it suddenly dawned on him that they were from two different worlds. Their command of English was too far apart. Their ideologies were different. Approach to situations, educational background, family, upbringing, etc. The narrator said that he or she believed, because we don't know who this narrator is, said he or she believes that Doris just stopped being his wife and turned herself into a mama in the house. I remember him buying her all sorts of short clothes and sexy outfits from the US. I thought they were too daring, but he didn't mind. The marriage meltdown goes as far back as 2009. This person said from their own observation, when the relationship started going cold, the love started going cold, the man also tried, by trying to make the wife live up to a certain taste that he wants. But she wasn't so interested in all that. Okay, let's continue reading. The marriage meltdown goes as far back as 2009. I know that I heard them talking in hushed tones a few times about how sex was a problem in the marriage. I know for a fact that Daniel used to joke about it around the house, but you could see he was serious in his jokes. He was always clowning about how he had to fill forms like an embassy to be with his wife intimately. I know at some point it was so bad that for almost 6 months, they didn't do anything. Wow. This person really monitored them, hey? One thing I can tell you for a fact is that in the course of their marriage, Daniel never cheated on Doris. This was a known fact, and everybody knew how crazy he was about his wife. But really? Is lack of intercourse enough to ruin a marriage? I would say yes. I would say yes. Some people, then the person continued by saying, some people Daniel confided in were his bosom friend, Alex Ifyong, who was there when Daniel and Doris hooked up originally. I know I overheard Daniel and Alex talking about it in the editing studio at the boys' quarters in their Magodo home. 2 other people, sorry, not in their Magodo home, in Magodo, the editing studio at the boys' quarters in Magodo. 2 other people I know for a fact that Daniel confided in when he was in America were his friends Buki Ebun of Nollywood View and Lamide Davis Talabi. You can ask them because they are on Facebook. These 2 people will tell you the whole story and how they tried to step in for advice. Even Buki came to the house in Magodo at some point when she visited Nigeria. She came with Kaha, the singer. That was how I found out. I'm sure Doris will know who this person is because she knows who lived in their house for that long. So she would know who is saying the story. He was meaning Daniel was desperate to save his marriage. That's why he took drastic steps to talk to people. The narrator continued by saying, I blame Doris in some ways because she just relaxed, trusted that everything was okay, and that her marriage was going to last forever. In marriage, you gotta keep working to make it good. What annoyed Daniel the most was when he found out his wife had a shop that he didn't even know about. But wait, let's say this. How can a man show you so much love, be so good to you, if the story is 100% true? Because for someone to boldly say this kind of story and say that I once lived in their house, definitely Daniel and Doris know who this person is. And they have never come out to dispute this article. Why would a man who is treating you with so much love, so much care, so much dedication, not cheating, why would you want to treat him too in a distasteful way? Why would you want to treat him with so much reservation, like you had a shop you didn't know about? Why? He was transparent with you. He would give you the money he makes because you are the better finance person, finance manager in the family. So, you see, in all of this, they have not even mentioned Stella because Stella was not even in the picture. And this person is vouching that Daniel never cheated on Doris in the marriage. Now let's continue. When he found out about the shop from outsiders, he confronted her. He confronted Doris. And she said she was trying to surprise him. That really pissed him off. He was enraged. This was when he grabbed his son and left. Daniel was a very, very patient man. But this narrator is saying that regardless that he endured a lot of patience, but he didn't like how he went about it by taking his son and just leaving. But we will also kind of understand his anger. Like, how can you be so transparent with somebody and they are treating you with arm's length? Is it that Doris felt that love was too pure to be true? You know, sometimes when something is so pure, when something is so loving, when something is so pure, when something is so loving, people act weird. So was Doris feeling off that this man loves me too much? Does he have any hidden motives? Because I'm not sure why a man will show you so much transparency and love and you would not guard it with your own being. You won't reciprocate it. It's quite shocking too, if the story is how it is truly. But I believe this person because the person has stated that he lived with them and they would know who lived with them for that long. The person mentioned the houses and homes they had lived and they had moved in together. Of course, they know who and who had moved in with them at that point in time. So, let's continue reading. Now the narrator said, while everyone was celebrating the happy lives these people shared, the marriage was already over. Yes, to us, because we always believe that their marriage was so sweet to the end. Stella just came in from somewhere, used her own charm and beauty as well to just snatch the man away from the happy home he had. That's the impression we all had, in fairness. And when I saw that initial video, that video trending yesterday, that was the image and the thought that I had. And I was like, yes, Stella, you deserve that breakup too. Like, you really deserve it. That's what we've been expecting all these years. Until I went to do some research and found out that Stella just went into a relationship with a man that was separated. She wasn't the cause of their home break. And this is part of the evidences, and there is still more. I do not appreciate women, husband snatchers. I do not want people to cause other people's unhappiness in their homes, but we should not castigate somebody that has done nothing wrong as well. We shouldn't rope what they know nothing about against them. That is why I'm doing this clarification. If the story had truly been that Doris and Daniel were such happy loving couples who were still in their marriage, and Stella just came, snatched, and made the man turn against his family. The video, the response and analysis of that video that is trending, that I've initially played, that we were reading, would have been different. I would have actually said, yes, it was well deserved. You caused Doris pain. How Doris must have felt in that time when you were doing all that. That would have been the direction of this video. But I realized that I think we have been falsely accusing Stella of something she is not guilty of. And also, it's also very shocking that Stella came out again in a new video to call out the newspaper that initially brought out that trending video, that she wasn't talking about herself, that she was talking about the person that sent an email. And I feel she didn't do justice to that video, because that was a good opportunity for her to make people realize that she did not snatch Daniel from. She's supposed to have reinforced it, because this, if I didn't take my extra time to go do this research, the impression about her would have still been that she's a husband snatcher. And so she came out in a new video addressing the fact that they twisted her words, but she did not address the fact that she did not snatch Daniel from Doris. And that really hurts me, to be honest. Now let's continue. Okay. The narrator continued by saying, while everyone was celebrating the happy lives these people shared, the marriage was already over. They were just patching things up. They kept holding on because of what people would say. Doris also messed up in certain ways because she could not fight to keep her man. She was too comfortable and never imagined that Daniel would get frustrated and leave. Not in this lifetime. Yes. Okay. And so it seems like Doris was kind of too relaxed and taking advantage of that man's unwavering love in that time for her. I could see, the narrator said that I could see in his eyes every day that he was just tired of struggling to make it all work. Look for people like Ali Shorimade. Now this narrator is calling out people's names that we should go and verify with them. That we should look for people like Ali Shorimade, who was his personal assistant for 5 years. These were the people who knew Daniel very well and how he avoided women like a plague. Let them tell you facts. Let them tell you truths. This person now said, Stella Damasus did not break up Doris Simon's home. I'll read that again. He said we should consult people like Aliyu Shorimade, who was the personal assistant of Daniel, and all the other people that he had called initially that I've read. He said, let them tell you facts. Daniel avoided women like a plague. Let them tell you truths. Stella Damasus did not break up Doris Simon's home. That home was scattered long time before Stella came into the picture. This person continued by saying that I believe Daniel got the attention that he craved so much at home in someone he considered a friend, and sparks flew. When I read that Daniel moved to Abuja and was taken care of by a woman, I laughed because the people saying this have no idea who Daniel is. He is so arrogant in certain ways that he would rather die of hunger than take a dime from any woman. He is that kind of man. He will be too embarrassed to take a dime from any woman. The dude is a workaholic. I give that to him, says the narrator. Films, fashion, documentaries, writing, photography, music, publishing, visual effects, name it. He is a master of them all. There is so much I know, and if all these names I mentioned here deny anything, they are lying. I can open a big can of worms, says the narrator. Look for Aliyu and ask him to tell you about the girl Blessing that Doris brought into their house that stayed for almost 3 years. Daniel sent her away from the house over 4 times and Doris kept bringing her back. Why? Nobody knows. Can never be explained. He never wanted the girl in the house, but she kept bringing her back. We know that at some point, Daniel discovered that the girl was... Okay, I'm not going to read that part because it involved their son. Okay, the person continued here by saying, there is a girl called Sumisola that used to visit the house some weekends then. She was close to Doris. Find out and ask her too. All I can say is that Daniel and Doris deceived everyone for a long time about how good the marriage was, even when everything was bitter and sour. So stop hating on Stella. The person said, so those hating on Stella are really wasting their time because Stella Damasus did not ruin Doris' marriage. Daniel and Doris know what scattered them that led to their divorce in 2011. If any of them feel I'm lying, let them challenge me. And I'm happy that this person actually came out to say this because it really saves Stella some of this bad image, which is going to be publicized now because a lot of people still did not know the story. A lot of people do not know the story. This is an article that I've just read out now, a first-hand article on nigerianfilms.com. Now let's go to Doris's interview. Okay, this is Doris Simon here. One interview that she took granted. She said, Stella Damasus, not my rival. I have no business with her. Doris Simon. I will jump here. They said in this article that I've read now, I'm reading now on Daily Post, it says, in a recent chat with Telegraph, and this is a long time ago when all these things happened, but people did not have access to these stories. Definitely, a lot of people do not, because that is why those insults are so many on there. Okay, this article says, in a recent chat with New Telegraph, the mother of one, this is Doris now, in an interview said, I do not have any form of relationship with Stella. She is not my rival. Now, this is opposed to what we believe that they were besties, that she even housed Stella, and that was how the snatching took place. Doris here allegedly says, I do not have any form of relationship with Stella. She is not my rival. I am not Stella's friend. She and I don't talk. We've never worked together before, so we are not friends. I do not have any business with her. You see, Doris also cleared the air on this, that they are not friends. They have never worked together, even though she did not say that my husband and I were already divorced or separated before Stella came into the picture. But that misconception that she and Stella were besties, were buddies, they are in the same industry, but they had not even worked together on the same sets. Now, there's another one here. Okay, this article on, it says on entertainment, that's what this page says, entertainment gist, the blogspot says, Doris Simon's first interview after being dumped for Stella Damasus. That's actually a wrong heading, because she wasn't dumped for Stella Damasus. She was separated and before Stella Damasus came into the picture. I'm not going to read all this interview because this is just about how she started her career and all that. So I'm going to go to the one that okay, I'm going to start from here. Wait, let's see. She didn't address it here. She said, what she said here is, she only talked about how they met, and they met on a very good note on a location set, and then from friends to lovers, marriage and baby, and that's how she even summarized it. Okay, and when they asked her that, so what happened to the relationship that produced a kid? She said, well, I wouldn't want to discuss that with the public because, like, you know, the future of an individual who happens to be our son is involved, and nothing is more precious to us than his future. Yes, and there's this one. I want to read that Stella's interview. Okay. Yes. This Stella's interview. Yes. They now said, this interview with Stella Damasus says, I owe Doris Simon no apologies. Okay? I want to say the way, you know when people want to publish an article, they will make it sound the heading. Some people will make the heading very ridiculous. So I'm not going to, but the point she was trying to drive here is that she owes Doris Simon no apologies. Now let's see why she has said that. In a bid, the article started by saying, in a bid to defend her action, Stella Damasus says Daniel already had this now on Naira Land. Okay. In a bid to defend her action, Stella Damasus says Daniel already had issues with his wife and the marriage was not going anywhere. They had separated before she took him. That means before she was with Daniel, Doris and Daniel had separated. Then this article said, lol, read her defense. Then they asked her, they said, how true is your relationship with Daniel Ademinokan? She said, let me put it this way. Let me help you hit the nail on the head. One of the comments I have seen consistently over and over again is, Stella snatched somebody's husband. Stella the husband snatcher, and that's what we all believed. Even till today, there are people who still see the story in that light. She now said, which is what has been going on, and I had sworn that I would never talk about it or even listen or stress myself about the issue. But I have decided to talk about it now so that I end it once and for all. She now said, first of all, let me paint a picture for you and you let me know what makes sense to you. Let's go to the dictionary. She now said, when she looked up the word snatched or steal, it means forcefully taking something away from its original position or forcefully from its forcefully from its original position to another position. Something that does not belong to you. That's what I gathered from the word snatch or steal. Then, so I looked at myself. Stella is saying that she looked at herself, wondered, how is it possible to go to somebody's home and take a man and take his son away from his home and say, follow me? Let's assume you are a man, and according to their story, he is happily married inside his home with his family. Complete, and I walk into that home to forcefully take a man, able-bodied man and a kid, away from somebody's hand, and you are not looking. Okay, sorry, I missed that point. Let me read just a sentence above. She said, okay, how can I come into somebody's home, forcefully take a man, able-bodied man and a kid away from somebody's hand, and you are there looking at me? How does that work? So logically, if people actually sit down and think about it intelligently, how do you snatch somebody from somebody and the person is there looking at you? So when you see a man who has settled ties with a woman, now she's explaining that when you see a man who has settled ties, meaning who has broken up with a woman, when you see a man who has broken up with a woman and decides to move on, and the man decides to move on with his life, and you feel that there is something in this man that you like, and he likes you, is there a problem there? She's saying that they had broken up, they were not longer together, and they met along after that breakup, and she felt, okay, I can give this a try, because of course, you know, men would impress you as well, you know, and she felt, okay, this is a single man. So Stella met that man, met Daniel as a single man, as a separated man. So she said, I'm not a kid. At that time, she was 36 years old then. She was now saying that she's not a kid, that she's 36 years old, that she's not about to start hiding herself, that she was waiting for somebody to actually ask her that question, because all she has heard for the past 2 or 3 years are rumors. They said, blogs said, this said. Nobody has been bold enough to confront me and ask me, says Stella. So I say, if I steal something from somebody and the person is really the owner of the thing, you come and ask me, you took something from me, give me back. Well, we know that in relationship, not everybody will go back and ask you such a thing, but the point has been passed that they were already broken up before she even met the man. Okay, she now continued by saying, if I meet an able-bodied man that has left his family and loved one, that is not even in the same house with whoever and is not doing anything with whoever, and both parties had decided that the marriage is not going anywhere and they have gone their separate ways, why is it easier for the world to blame the woman that the man has decided to end up with? That means they had broken up, they had separated, they had come to a mutual understanding that that marriage was over. That as she came into the picture, she found a fresh guy that she felt she could live with, she could work with. That why are people so fast to blame the woman? It's not that people are blaming the woman. People just think the circumstances is different from what I know now. That's just the truth. People believe you snatched the man, that you are the cause of that home being broken. That is why they are blaming you. And Stella, I will repeat it again, she has not done enough, at least to put her word out there for people to understand that she was not the cause of their breakup. Now, I'm not going to continue reading all the other stuff, but we understand the point. And then now I'm going to jump again. She re-emphasized that statement. She said, why would a man pick up his son and walk away from his marriage? Was there any time another woman was the problem until the man moved on with another woman? Nobody brought up Stella's name. Yeah, She said even then, nobody brought up her name then when the man left initially. That it was when they now met and started dating that people started speculating that she's the cause of the breakup, and she's disproving that. Then she said at first that she used to ignore the stories, and she still actually does ignore the story, because this little interview she did here did not get to a lot of people at all. She said she just kept quiet, and then it was all over the place, Google, blogs, and I'm like, one day, I will tell my story. She said there's a reason why I'm respecting certain people, respecting certain legal issues that are going on. That's the, I believe it's the divorce proceedings. Then she said that they should look at it, that she's not ugly, that she's not dumb, that of all the men in the world, she will now go and look for somebody else's own and say, this is the one I want. She now said, if he didn't come out of it and say, I want to be with you and you want to be with me, how would I come and grab him? So, people, I think we have judged Stella Damasus too wrongly. In fairness, if the story is the way it is, of which Doris has not disproved, and Doris too also said that they are not friends, contrary to what we believe that they were friends, contrary to the fact that we believe that she was even the one that housed Stella, and Stella met her husband and snatched him. That's the story that was making waves then. Then we also owe Stella an apology, and we need to cut her some slack. She did not snatch Doris Simon's husband while Doris Simon was married to him. They met on neutral grounds when Daniel had walked out of his marriage with his son. The only aspect that has not also been cleared was the fact that when Daniel took his son and went to be with Stella, he didn't allow Doris have access to that child. And I want to think that it's because they relocated to the US and Doris was still in Nigeria before she too went there. But if that is so, then that is wrong. You shouldn't deny a mother access to her child. And as Stella was already in the relationship, I believe she should have made it easier for mother to meet her son and be in contact with her child. And that will be it for now. Let's cut Stella Damasus some slack. Let's do our research. She wasn't the reason for Doris Simon's broken home. Cheers. And please remember to subscribe. Remember to drop reasonable comments. Please like and share.